have the pleasure of introducing Halima Ismail, who was the Speaker of the Children's Assembly in Kenya in 2014. Today, we shall be talking to her about her experiences as an office holder in the Children's Assembly. Welcome, Halima.
Thank you so much, Amina. My name is Halima Ismail. I was the Speaker of the National Children's Government 2014 to 2015. That was the first children's government, the pilot program. And I was the Speaker, one of the executives.
Okay, Karibu. Halima, tell us something about
Thank you
yourself,
so much.
about where you come from, and what you're doing currently.
I am 19 years old. I just cleared my high school from Amangina Girls High School 2018, and I joined Kenyatta University. I'm pursuing a course, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, as we speak. I'm in my first year, second semester, and I am from Mombasa. I stay with my family in Mombasa, and that's about me.
Okay. What do you think has changed in your life since you were young? A bit about your personal journey till where you are now.
Well, when the whole children's government thing started, it was, as I said, it was the pilot program. It was something new to everybody. So I never knew I could even speak before being elected as the speaker from my primary school. And actually, it was a teacher who saw that in me, but I really didn't know I had the potential to speak. But then, given the first stage to campaign and given the first microphone, I was able to find my inner self. I was innately empowered, and from that moment on, I can say that nothing has been the same. It has been a beautiful experience, and I can say I found myself through this program.
That's amazing. What do you think has been the best moment so far?
The best moment I can say was when I got the seat nationally, because there was a chance. Let me take you back a little bit. When at the county elections, I actually tied with the girl I was going up against, and it was like, I remember, I don't know, 200 votes exactly, and we had to do another one for me, just for me, the speaker. And I remember that day, if anything went wrong, I wouldn't have even made it. But from that moment, the tying was a really nerve-breaking experience for me. I can remember I had to campaign again, and that's when I saw that when put under pressure, I can actually do a good job, and I got the seat. And when I became speaker, I also got the opportunity to represent the country in the Commonwealth Youth Parliament in Lusaka, Zambia. I went with the President, Danny Kinaro, and we were able to represent the country in the Commonwealth Youth Parliament. We debated alongside other youth leaders from all over the continent, and it was a beautiful experience as well.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So the whole experience built also your career and your personal life. So why did you join the children's government? What brought you towards that? You mentioned about your teacher. Maybe go into that a bit.
Yeah, so I remember vividly, it was a really boring afternoon in school. We were in class, and then we were it was the week of elections, yeah, and the speaker spot had nobody interested in it yet, and it was really not on my mind at that time, because, as I said, I was hiding behind this shy girl at the moment, but I knew I could speak in some way. So my teacher came and approached me, and I was like, nah, I can't possibly be the one. There's so many other people who can fit in that shoe, but she said, no, you have it in you, you just need a little bit push. And she was really strict, so she told me, you have to do it. And then I just felt like, okay, why not? So I went for the first time. For the first elections, it was the sub-county elections, and I believe, like, from when I got elected at school, it was not really as big as it was for the sub counties, because you actually get to interact with other students, and you actually see other people with the different uniforms, and you actually feel the heat and the intensity, and you have to really put yourself out there. And yeah, that's how I found myself actually wanting to be this leader. Giving your manifesto as a child, it's a really, changing thing. It's a defining thing for a person, and yeah, it really built me to be who I am today.
That's amazing. How were you able to balance your studies and leadership at the same time?
Well, I must say it wasn't easy because from when we got elected nationally, it became back-to-back events and conferences where children were required. As in, from that moment, it became clear to the national decision makers that whenever anything that has to do with children is up or involved, we have to be brought on board to air out our views. So every like let's say every week we had a conference going on, and we would be gotten from school, and we will go and participate and make speeches and give our views about the policies they were making at the time. So balancing was a bit challenging, but once you are a leader, I believe you have to be a reader as well. So you have to really put in work. As much as you're speaking out there, you have to remember that you have your books. And I was a candidate. I think most of us were candidates at the time. Only one of us was not a candidate. So we were actually helping each other out when we were together. And when we were back at school, we were given extra. Our teachers also had us. They were supporting us at the time. Yeah. So balancing was a bit difficult, but it was also easy because we had people supporting us.
Okay, okay. And maybe share with us what lessons you learned from your experience, from these amazing experiences as a leader and going through this process.
My biggest lesson is that fear is something that you create in your own mind, because you can get an audience or a congregation of a lot of people and you feel the fear surging through your veins, but then you have to speak to yourself. You can either let the fear take over you, or you can actually take action and embrace the fear and walk with it, and just break the glass vase already and get on with it, because there's no other way. You just have to face your fears. That's the biggest thing I've learned, because we were actually given an opportunity to speak to over 10,000 teachers from all over the country. They had a conference in Mombasa, and each one of us was given a chance to speak and air out our views. And 10,000 teachers is no joke. That audience is huge. So my biggest lesson was learn to face your fears. Another one was, once you're elected, there's a lot of responsibilities that come with it. You have to actually show that you were put there for a good reason, and you have to work and you have to speak, because a lot of children were relying on us, those who voted us in. They were really expecting a lot from us. They wanted to see what they had put across to us being put across to the government as well. So we did that well. So the lesson is, once you're given a responsibility, you have to actually take action and also face your fears.
Oh, that's very inspiring. So maybe for the listeners who are not very familiar with the children's government, maybe explain to us what is the children's government.
So a children's government is a body that was formed by KEPSHA and UNICEF and the Ministry of Education in conjunction. So it started at school base. Its structure was, there was four executives, that is the president, the deputy president, the speaker, the deputy speaker, six cabinet secretaries, one for sports and culture, one for welfare and children needs, one for health and sanitation and environment, one for ICT and external relations, one for education, and one for peace, justice, and cohesion. There was also three senators. This is at school base, yeah. There was also three senators, one for lower primary, one for upper primary, and one for middle primary. There was also a member of parliament for each class. So these members of parliament were able to represent their classes and air out the views of their classes. The senators were representing the blocks, as I mentioned them, and the cabinet secretaries were in charge of these crucial ministries where they addressed all the issues concerning children at school level. So at sub-county level, There was at sub-county level only 10 executives. I mean members, the members of the children's government. Only 10 of them were to proceed to sub-county levels. These were the 4 executives that I mentioned and the 6 cabinet secretaries, where we had elections all over the country. For the schools, all schools had those elections. Then we went to sub-county elections. I remember there were 208 sub-counties, providing us with 10 each. So we had like 2,080 representatives. Then we go to sub-county level, where we have now 470 candidates and 447 counties participating. Then we have the national elections with 470, those from the counties participating. And we elected only 10 nationally. So as I've explained, it's a process that starts from the roots, the grassroots, and moves up to the national level. So we have a lot of diversity, we have a lot of exposure, we have a lot of interaction for children from all over the country, and it also teachers get to interact, and with all the levels, we get to meet new people, have new experiences. So it's a really good thing that was happening. It's something that's a whole process. It's gradual, and it's accountable.
Okay, that's an amazingly huge network. And how do each parliament legislate? What is the legislative process with the children's government?
The legislative process, as I said, at the school level, because this children's government is meant to aid the schools and make them better for children. The legislation is whereby the MPs, as I mentioned, and the senators and the cabinet secretaries come together, and the speaker, that's my docket, presides over it. They air out the issues, debate over them, and come up with resolutions, which the executives pass on to the administration. So there's actually a formal method of communication from the children to the school administration. Nationally, when we had the 2014 elections, I remember I presided as the speaker over 470 delegates from all over the country, and this is where we made resolutions. I remember we had 10 priorities. One of them, the first one was inclusive and conducive classrooms. The second one was equity and equality. The third one was safety and security. The fourth one was health and nutrition, and the fifth one was community linkages and partnerships. So during this time, I was presiding over it. Each and every single county had their input on these different priorities, and they had different ways of how they felt about these vital issues that affect children, and we were able to put them all together and come up with the top 10 priorities. And I remember the following day we had the inauguration, and we had national decision makers coming, for example the CS of education, and the majority leader Honorable Aden Duale came also and represented these top 10 priorities to them. They were under the theme of child-friendly schools. We were advocating for quality education and making schools friendly for children, and we presented it to them, and they were able to adopt them as resolutions in the Kenyan parliament. So it was adopted as resolutions, and they were actually enacted upon in the schools in Kenya. So that's the legislative process. As I told you, we had inputs from all the different counties, and I was able to oversee that each and every person had a voice. They actually represented the children that had voted for them, and it was actually very mature. You can think that children don't have actually anything, they don't know anything about legislation, but the way they were speaking, you will say that's the mind of a 40-year-old inside a 10-year-old. So there's actually, children are innately wise, and they innately know what's good for them. So we need to put children in front while making decisions for them. We need to make decisions with them, not for them, because the wearer of the shoe knows where it hurts most. Yeah, so that's the whole
Exactly.
legislative process.
Okay. And as you mentioned, some of your priorities were, for example, child-friendly schools. What about long-term strategies for development? Do you think that the children's government's approach replicates the national government? For example, if the national government says we're going to have Vision 2030, is there something like that for the children's government as well? How do you form your priorities?
Well, our priorities were majorly formed on ideation. As I said, during the 2014 June conference, we had a lot of children from different parts of the country with us, and there was a lot of ideation going on. They were actually drawing for us how their schools look like and how they would want what they would want to stop, what they would want to start, and what they would want to improve. So from that is where we actually came up with the 10 priorities. So we're not really a model of the Kenyan Parliament, because we can't discuss infrastructure because we don't have the funds. We can't discuss, we're not at that level, but where children are involved, that's where we come in. For instance, if the Vision 2030 does not have a part where children are involved, we actually advocate that they add a part, goals that children can for the children to reach. And yeah, that's actually, it's all about bringing children into the picture and having their voices heard. And where our inputs are required, we are the ones who bring the inputs alongside the national decision makers, because children's voices actually count. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned about the child-friendly schools recommendation that was actually adopted. Are there any other recommendations that have been adopted by national government? And how do you feel the reception of the children's government by national government has been?
Okay, so the national government, as the children's national government, as I said earlier, had a lot of stakeholders behind it, had a lot of support. So once other people and other investors saw that this is actually something that has been supported, that has been brought up, that has been molded, and it's people, young people with great minds, they actually give it a warm reception, and they actually see that this is not children playing games. This is
Mhm.
actually youth, young adults who are trying to make a change in the society. So once other people see that these people are actually supported and they actually have a mindset of change, and actually seriously committed about what they're doing, is when they're given the significance they deserve. So from us, I think us having the seriousness at the time gave us a lot. It brought us into the limelight. We were actually known, we were actually heard, we were taken to the parliament, and no visitor before has been put in the speaker's box. We got that opportunity to be in parliament where the actual laws are made, and that was when our resolutions were adopted. We were also getting chances to be in conferences about children that we never even knew happened before. We're just in school, but we actually came to know that there are things going on about children every single day, and we didn't know. But now we are put on the panel discussions, we are put on the interviews, we are brought on board, we are given surveys to do, and that was actually a change maker. And once you are committed about what you're doing, and once you have supporters behind you, then you'll be taken with the seriousness you require.
Okay. And what did you face any challenges as a leader in the assembly? What challenges were these? And maybe how you came through them, how you overcame them.
Well, I must say that's a tough question, because the people who were actually behind us made everything so efficient that we barely had any problems. It was so realistic. It was so yani we were mentored in such a way that we were actually empowered. There's nothing that will come our way that we couldn't handle. The only problems were maybe subjective. For instance, having stage fright, or not knowing how to handle a particular situation. As I said, it was a pilot program. There's some new things that came out of nowhere, and you had to deal with them then and then instantly. And without, like, with the mentorship played a big role. We had a whole team of mentors with us, and they showed us the way, and they helped us, because as I said, okay, we are not big adults, we are like children at the time. So with the good mentorship, we were able to overcome all our challenges at the time. Yeah.
Okay. That's great, and I see we're very proud to have you as a female member of the children's government. And what do you think about the third gender rule? Was it met in the time that you were there?
Third gender role. Okay, I remember there was Fatma, myself, Patricia, and Aunt Stephanie. So I think it was met. Yes, we were actually. It was a very fair program based on any measure you want to put it under. It was well balanced, well diverse. People are coming from diverse denominations, diverse religions, diverse ethnicities, and it was one strong held group of people. And yeah, there was a balance in every single way.
And how did it come to that? Was there a requirement that the children's government had to fulfill a number of representatives from as women or girls? Was there a requirement?
Well, I must say that I'm not aware of any standard by which we had to meet at the time, because it was just you campaign, get elected, make your way up there, regardless of whether you're a girl, whether you're a boy, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whether just as long as your voice is heard well enough and the kids believe in you and you make your way up there, there's no standard by which you can get cut out or something. So by luck, we actually made the balance naturally, but
Hmm.
there was no standard that we didn't deem it necessary at the time.
Okay. And how was the campaign process? Maybe take us through that. You've touched on it before, but how was it for you? And what does the process entail? The voting.
The voting. So from school level, you have first-hand experience. It looks like something like this. So the school level is important to give you fierce competition, to give you actually a hot to be put in a hot seat, and you have to actually build your confidence from the school level. Going to the sub county, it's tougher, believe me. You get to when once you get to interact with different people, it gets real, and you have to beat them in order to go to the county level. I was from Nairobi at the time, and meeting people from other schools in the county, it was really tough. It had a really high competition. Public schools, private schools, and private schools were a bit tough on us from public schools, but we actually met the competition. You actually saw that you can actually beat this person from Nairobi Primary School, you can beat this person from Aga Khan, and it could give you a really nice feeling about yourself. It will boost your esteem. And campaigning was the actual real campaigning. There was no favorism. Children will not favor you. They have to hear what you're doing for them out there so that they can give you a chance. They actually knew the power of the vote, and it was amazingly surprising to me, because they actually knew that for me to give you this vote, what are you going to do? How are you going to represent us? And that was actually an eye-opener that it's serious and it's real. And getting to the nationals was a big achievement, yet it was so scary because it's 470 and you have to go up against 10 speakers, sorry, speakers from no, from you have to go against 47 speakers from each respective county, and they have to nominate you as the speakers. Now we form a caucus, and we have to nominate like two of the speakers to go up on the podium and campaign against each other, head to head. And I remember a funny experience from my nominations. There was this person, I think from Nakuru, who was going for speaker as well, and he actually tricked me. He said that if you nominate me, I will nominate you. And being a really innocent self, I nominated the person, and they ended up not nominating me. So it's a funny experience I like to remember all the time. But still, I got nominated and he wasn't. And I went up against a girl from Meru, I think, Meru County, and we campaigned. And the campaigning part is the cream. you have to really nail it, and you have to really be prepared. You have to know how to get your points across. You have to speak at their level. You can't go up and start speaking like an administrator or a teacher. You speak as a child, as they are, and you say these are all our needs, and we need someone who can actually do the work as expected. And you actually have to really commit yourself up there, and it's that moment where you make it or break it. And I thank God every single time that I was actually heard. So campaigning is no joke. It's actually like the real campaigns we have out here, just without the posters and the money. Yeah.
Okay. Um, that sounds like it's quite a character building experience as well. Um,
Yes, yes, indeed.
what were what are you most proud what are you most proud that your government did, the greatest achievement you guys had? You mentioned the recommendations that were adopted. That's quite big. Was that the biggest moment for you?
Yeah, that was one of them. Indeed, we have a lot of achievements. As the first group, we actually exceeded the expectations they had for us, our stakeholders and our supporters, and we brought so many changes, and we actually saw the change. Even when we went back to our schools, we actually saw the things we were putting across there happening in the schools, like nutrition. We actually saw that the food was getting better, it was becoming balanced, and it was a requirement under the priority health and nutrition. Sanitation also became a significant tool. We actually started seeing soap in our washrooms, and again we were taken seriously, and we actually saw that from the grassroots, from our schools. And it was a really wonderful feeling to see that this is something that we did together as children, and they're actually taking us serious. The feeling is phenomenal. And also we got to be involved. The being involved bit was really important for us. For example, there has been a conference by Capture. Like, all the head teachers, school heads go there, and they actually discuss about their schools. Children have never been seen in that conference. It is a week-long conference. For the first time in 2014, we were taken there, and we talked to the teachers, as I mentioned earlier. We told them what we want from the schools. We actually put up a tent where they will come, and it was necessary for them to go there because we had to sign for them. It is a requirement to show that they completed the conference. And we talked to them about what we want in our schools. We advocated for the child-friendly schools, and they actually had something to take back home with them, and we had to ensure that they followed them up. So we had a whole presentation for them, and we had like a real conversation, one-to-one, with the heads from all over the country. So it's a big achievement. And also getting to two of us got to represent the country in Lusaka. I also mentioned that it was a big achievement for us. We also had started having social media platforms, and we also got interviews on national television, and it was becoming a really big thing, yeah, for
That's
us.
amazing. Congratulations for all of those milestones as well. So, how has all
Yeah.
these great experiences shaped your view of the political system at large?
The political system, I believe they have a lot to learn from us. We had elections with zero corruption,
Hmm.
with zero tribalism. It was not in our vocabulary. We had elections that were free, fair, transparent, and we had elections with no violence. We had fruitful elections, and we came up with leaders that were actually credible, that were actually responsible, that actually followed up what they had put across in their manifestos. And that is something that the leaders we have today have to really embrace and emulate from us. They should not shy away from having to learn from us. They should come interact with us. They should teach us more on policy making and decision making and the lawmaking process, so that we can be part and parcel of this community together. We can actually be side by side together with the government, because actually so far they have been listening to us, but we need to be involved more, and they need to be involved more in education, because with children, that's where the whole future lies. There's no need to build the infrastructure and leave the schools without classrooms. Then there's no need for highways and bridges where there's no seats in classrooms. There's people learning under trees. So I believe they should put everything on hold first, or slower, and actually focus first, and let no child be out of school, let no child be at home, let no girl be facing early marriages and facing other cultural practices that are not in line with education. And they should actually focus on building the child first, because that's where our future lies, because whose children are we? We are fruits of this nation, and I believe that we can be important change makers in the future. So there is need to actually invest in children more than investing in other things. Yeah.
Okay. And on a personal level, how has it impacted your decisions, the decisions you make today and in your life in general?
Before you were just a child, and once you are put across these various events and these various challenges and these various opportunities, there's actually an exposure and an empowerment that comes in you. It comes naturally, eventually, and gradually, and you just change into a leader yourself. You find yourself coercing people to good. You find yourself coercing people against doing bad. You find yourself actually participating in more things that you didn't even know you had just for example, I became a debater in high school. I joined the Great Debaters Contest, and through the children's government, having spoken to so many people, it gave me self-esteem. And you actually, I believe it's important for each and every child to go through this, because even if you don't make it to the nationals, maybe along the way you find yourself, you become a better citizen. You actually get to know about the laws and the rules. You actually become patriotic to your country. You actually fall in love with the government system, and you actually find new passion. Yeah. So in terms of decision making, you become wiser, and you become, how do I say it, mature in your thinking. Yes.
So it sounds like a very valuable experience for young people to go
Yeah.
through.
It
So
is
yeah,
indeed. Yeah.
and during this time, we can't escape talking about the pandemic. How has this affected you and maybe your schooling? And what kind of what thoughts do you think as a youth leader, how how young people can help the situation?
This pandemic has become it's become a really huge obstacle in schools. For example, there are academic goals to be reached, there were deadlines to be reached, but now it's all been zeroed down to nothing. Kids are at home, but I must say there is a little bit of positive in this situation. I feel that it's better to have people at home and healthy rather than being put out there and being at the risk of getting the disease. So personally, I feel it's important for now the government, the stakeholders, and the youth and the children themselves to actually find ways to make lemonade out of this lemon, and to make this situation work from home. Let's have the government putting on TV channels to actually teach their children from home. To actually, for those with the no TV, there's radio stations. For those who can't reach them, then we have the parents coming together and help them learn. We have the MPs, the MCAs, and the other government representatives from the counties. They should make sure that they should offer revision material for the children from the homes. And I believe that this is actually a challenge to us to make this new situation a little bit normal to us, to continue with our learning, not to stop, and to be able to change in our thinking and everything. Yes. So I believe that we as the youth have an important role in helping people to stay at home by making the homes a good learning environment for everybody, and to have a chance to actually develop our thinking and everything becomes normal.
So, Halima, as we wrap this up, would you have any words of advice for young people, given all the experiences you have gone through? Uh, Maybe some words of advice to guide them or to share with them.
I would advise all the young people to grab opportunities as they come, never to fear or hold back, to take action where they feel that they can participate and get involved, to always make sure that their voice are heard and their opinions count, because it's important to be seen and to be heard, and to always try to be diligent and have integrity in everything that they're doing, and also place God first in everything that they do, because that's how to be guided, and to always be respectful, and yeah, to really strive to be the best versions of themselves. If you're good at football, go pursue it with all your heart. If you're good at speaking, then make sure your voice is heard always. If you're right but you can draw, then make that your voice. So I'm just saying to become the best version of yourself and be the best person, because the only one that can hold you back is you. Yeah.
Wow, that's very inspiring words for young people and adults as well. So thank you, thank you.